out, guys. Emily.
Hi.
Can I take a look at what you're doing with the type posters?
I already have it ready.
You do? Okay. Aaron's gonna be filming this whole thing and the people on the internet want to know. They've been seeing your posters hanging behind us on the show, and we're gonna have you on the show really soon. So let's take a look at this and we'll just look at it one at a time. Now, what program did you use to design this? Everybody always wants to know. What's the software? You use Illustrator and not InDesign?
No.
Why do you choose Illustrator?
It's easier to move the shapes around, and we're working with typography. So vector is it's the best choice.
Vector is the best choice.
Right, for me personally.
Okay, cool. Why don't I take this moment to introduce Emily while the files are being pulled out. Emily's a graphic designer. She graduated from Art Center. She was a former intern here, and she's a former student. I've had a lot of working experience with Emily, and we're really lucky to have her work at Blind and also do some Futur-related content. So you guys are going to see a lot more of her and of some of the other designers around here, but today we're just going to focus on Emily. So the assignment that I gave Emily was to pick some of our best viewed episodes, right? And then to design a poster for each one so we can have this tile of posters that we can print out as a mural or do something else with it. And this one was run your design business like a boss, And okay, so you're using Futur, which is the typeface, and in this instance, I told Emily it was okay to break away from the blue-yellow palette, which you guys are very familiar with, just because we wanted a little variety, and maybe we're getting a little sick of just blue and yellow, so it's important for us to have other kinds of colors to work with, so in case you guys are paying attention, okay? This is also Futur Bold, and not some other weight. And the dimensions are all the same, so we're going to see how Emily takes each one of these concepts and then interprets it as a poster design. So running your design studio like a boss. This is a very clean design. I like the grayscale, and I also like that you did this diagonal across it, connecting the B and the O and the SS like that, and then inverting it here and kind of creating a more transparent thing. Out of curiosity, why did you decide to invert this and not just leave it a red slash across?
I think it looks a bit harsh when you have a red line on top of the black and white photo, so I just thought it would have like a little overlay instead of just a red up on top of it.
Yeah, I like it. I think that if you had done it all red, it would have seemed like this is canceling this out, which is kind of like the international symbol for don't do this, which is not what we're trying to say. So in this case, you're just trying to introduce a graphic element, so your instincts served you well here by making it more transparent through that thing. I think it would have been kind of cool too if you taken that strip and use that as a mask and then offset it a little bit. Is it offset a little bit or no?
No.
So if you offset a little bit, it'll be more like prismatic, and I think that could be kind of cool. This is a nice design. It's super simple. It's very centered, but this little piece of asymmetry gives it the right balance for me. Okay, good job. Let's look at the next design. Getting started in graphic design. Okay.
So all of these posters, your initial brief was this was supposed to be a mural. So I thought about how all the posters would look right next to each other.
Okay.
So all of these posters have like a certain angle to it. That's why this one, some people might ask, why did you put a diagonal across the poster? Okay. So
good point.
Right.
But there are different angles? Because that's a different angle.
Was, yeah,
that's the only one that's a different angle. This looks like, is it almost 45, but not quite?
It's like 35.
35, okay, it's really close to it. So that's a really good point that you bring up in terms of like what we're looking at. You guys are seeing individual designs because that's how we'll critique these right now, but it's meant to be seen as a whole. They're meant to be collaged together or lined up in a grid. So there's certain elements that have to repeat.
Right.
Otherwise it'd be too chaotic and too frenetic. Okay, let's look at this design here. Getting started in graphic design. I like how you broke that up, how you inset that. So this is a really good example of asymmetrical typography, and Emily knows enough about design to make this work. It's easier to look at this thing than it is to do this kind of asymmetrical design and yet achieve the balance. And I think that's about proportion and spacing, that it's not too even and it's broken up. And I like that she inserted this kind of unexpected element in here, where I'm seeing some things here, because I noticed that we use a lot of the snapshot elements quite a bit. Let me see your pen. And so what I'm looking for, and I'm going to try to draw on this thing if I can do it. So you guys are going to see the use of the grid, right? So theoretically, if I were to draw a line from top to bottom here, those things need to line up. And I'm looking for that same kind of cohesion here. So that's one where this is so close to this, I think it would have been better if you just dropped this down like that and made it hit that line. It's going to anchor these things together and say that this is not arbitrary. I'm looking for those kinds of relationships. So here she has type that's justified right, but then it doesn't quite hit this line either. So I don't know if it hurts it just scoot it in, okay? Or let me do this. Draw the arrow so that it hits that line, scoot it in a little bit, or push this farther out this way so that it's not close enough. Like this is a little close for my comfort, as is this too close for my comfort. And another way that you guys can use the grid is to take this sucker, these little dots, move them right here, and make it anchored to the D. I messed up on that line. Let's try it again, somewhere around there. These little things kind of bother me, just snapping things. They're very, very minor things, but typography is about the details once you have the design concept and it's working for me. So that there's nothing left for chance. Like these things are nice elements. Again, if you were to take this, why am I just not drawing straight there? And maybe you just added a little vertical element here. I'm trying to anchor everything. So there's a rhythm and a harmony, and a little bit of structure allows the expressive nature of your typography to work. Okay, let's keep going, and let's look at the next layout. But good job overall. Okay, now you have to do a little magic there. Just out of curiosity, what was the keyboard shortcut you used to fill with the background? Is it Command-Shift-Delete?
It depends, because for me, if my white was my background color, so that was Command-Delete. If it's the foreground, it's Option-Delete.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Okay, let's look at this design. So this 35-degree angle is consistent here, so you saw that in the other design. What is UX design? What is UX design? So lots of elements here. Okay. Now, let's break this design down. Why is this design working? Okay. And maybe where can we tweak it a little bit? I like the fact that I'm going to draw all over it and then I'm going to undo this. I like that you can clearly see. I thought I was going to draw all over it. Hold on. Brush. Okay. I like that there's this element here and it's grouped together with this. This is quite nice, right? So that's what we would consider your primary read. This is read number 1, okay? That's read number 1. This is your secondary read, this group of stuff here, right? And then all these little bits and pieces, I would consider read number 3, okay? So that's how you gotta look at this design. Like, does my eye know where to go? 1, 2, and 3. And then we look at where our eye travels from here. Let's switch colors, and I'll do some crazy color like that. Let's switch colors, hopefully this works. My eye goes from this to this, and it goes back out. Not a bad flow, and you guys need to be aware of how your eye moves through the design, if it's creating a pleasing movement or not, okay? And so let's now go in. What happened here? I drew in the background.
Yeah.
The background you set me up for, right? You're supposed to create a new layer, no wonder it wasn't working. It's Emily's fault. Okay, anyways, all right, so here we are. Here's where I think it's a little funny. Well, before I get into like how we can improve this, I like that there's contrast. You have big, bold letters, UX, kind of separated like that. It makes it almost like an illustration, and then you have this black type. Let's look at this black type here. Now, she's cutting things off the edge here, and you have to kind of be careful where you cut things off. If you cut off too much, we can't read it, and it reads like a V. You cut off not enough, and it just looks accidental. I think you could probably push this to the right a little bit, a hair that way, just to give me a little bit more of the W and the U. Just hair more, and I think it makes that easier to read. Next is this part right here, the U and the X. I think they could have been the same point size, because the X is a very legible character, and if it were like the same point size, you don't need to see that much of it and would still read, okay? I like that, and I like these little bits of detail. So this is good contrast, really big red typeface, a block of copy here, and these little kind of detailed things that are floating around. And I think that's totally okay that it's kind of haphazard, kind of strewn about. I think it works. Lots of negative space around this design. It's working for me. Okay. Let's do the same bits. Do we need to add a layer?
Yeah.
Okay, for everybody on the internet, what keyboard command did you hit? They always want to know, what's the keyboard command?
Shift Command N. That gives
Shift Command N. It gives you a new layer.
New layer.
Okay, great. Typography, design, and art direction. Okay? All right, so whenever you're designing, let's look at this for a minute. We're looking at proportion of this space, this volume, compared to this volume. And lastly, compared to this volume. Sorry, Aaron. So we have three things, 3 units of measure, and I like them. Big, medium, and small. They kind of work. And this is where a less skilled designer would probably do these 2 things as the same, and it makes it too even, too predictable. So you have to be aware of the space, not only about what you put on the page, but the negative space that it creates in between. So I think that's working well for you. Okay. Let's see what else here. You have to be concerned about where these things get cut off. So this is really tricky. So you have like a little thing here and a little thing here where it comes over. So we want to try to make sure that it cuts it off in a healthy spot, like here, right? That would work. Okay, I'm not saying this is bad. I just want you to be very mindful of those little areas. Let me switch the cursor here so everybody can see those little areas there. Again, I'm just looking for cohesion and anchoring everything together. It's going to be a repeating pattern you're going to hear from me. So you see this art direction here? This is justified type, so I'm going to bring it up here. My eye is looking for something for it to connect. Let me move it over so it's actually in the right spot. Okay? So again, now you can see that this, scoot that over a hair, right? So this little element moves over. And I think if you had some lines or some dots or something here, that would also tie this whole design together. I'm looking for things to anchor. I really like this element here, these vertical tick marks that you've included that show the aperture or something. I don't know what that is. That's what it feels like. It's a nice layout again, and well done. So we're talking about very, very minor things. Let's go to the next one. Ruler, Command Shift N, and hit return, assuming that the layer structure is set up correctly. Right. Let's change the background color here to dark gray or something else. Black. Is that not light gray? We need more contrast. Okay, now you guys can see this design. Okay, let's look at this one. This one's a little busier than the other ones. It's using 2 colors again, black, white, and red. And it's the red, it's overlaid on top of this. I think that's an inventive, nice use of another color. And you're getting some color overprints where the red and the black make a different color, but the red and white make a different color. That's a nice print technique that you're using. I'm just looking at the little shapes that it creates, and so where am I going to point something out, Emily?
Like those little...
Yeah, this one is the one that bothers me right here.
Yeah, this angle was really hard to work with. Like when I was designing, I noticed that this was like the best I could do without making the, like, you know, the little, I don't know what to call it. Like these
little slivers,
yeah.
the little doodads, the fragments that hang over. If you increase the scale of this, perhaps that will help. Okay, so you're really dealing with headline copy, which is great, and then all these things are really textural, so you get to manipulate these in any which way you want, right? And again, I'm still looking for that kind of flow and connection, so I'm going to just circle some things. This is a little bit of a problem area for me. It's a minor one, probably these little spots here. Okay, the other ones are good. You get enough of a crossover, that looks good. I do not love this line that's cutting off this thing, and I'll tell you why. You have this beautiful, beautiful poster format. It's very vertical, and you've essentially cut it up into 3 pieces. I think it would be a much stronger design if you followed the same idea. Okay, this idea is not consistent. So you did welcome underscore to the, I think you do underscore here, and then you do an underscore before here. And now, if we were to get rid of this and this, it allows the space to move throughout instead of cutting off your design. I think that would help your design here. And I'm not sure there's alignment here. It feels like it's close, but I'm a little suspicious. It feels like it's a little in. It's kind of like really close, and I think if we zoomed in there super tight, it may or may not be right. Who knows? But let's just make sure. I just know Emily, she's like...
No, let's try it.
Are you sure?
Yeah, okay, let's line it up.
Is it right? Are you vindicated?
I know, it's a little blurry.
It?
No, wait.
Okay, Emily's going to try to prove a point here. More often than not, when she rolls the dice on this one, she loses.
See?
But let's see.
It's lined up.
Okay. All right, she is vindicated. Good job. Gongxi, gongxi. Okay. All right, so let's hide this. Every time I speak Chinese, my kids are ashamed. A Chinese person cries a tear. Okay, anyways. All right. So it's important that you're looking for all those tangencies, that you lay it out like this, and then you zoom in just to double, triple, quadruple check. Okay? Did you ever include any circular elements in any of your designs?
No.
No, it's not part of the visual vocabulary?
Yeah, I just only worked with stripes and that certain angle.
Okay, let's go. This may be an optical illusion. Do you know what I'm going to say?
What's up?
The optical illusion is this unit right here is thicker than this one, but maybe because of where I'm sitting. What do you think? Are these all the same units of measure?
They should be.
How confident are you of this one?
Like
Are you super 95%? 95%. Let's check. Let's double, quadruple check. It feels a little off. Yeah, I'm pretty sure of it now.
I think these two are the same.
Let's see. Okay, so let's hide that. So that's pretty much the same, right? I might be one extra pixel, but let's just see. And then I'm going to bring it over here. Oh, vindicated once again. Excellent, good job. Emily's batting 2 for 2 right now. She was holding her breath on that one. As I'm sitting over here at an off-axis angle, it does look smaller to me from here, and it still looks smaller to me. Of course, you want to check all these details, guys, because type is about the details. Okay, it looks like Emily's been paying attention on this one because things do appear to be lining up, right? And so you have this center bit, and this is centered too, right? This is centered to the comp.
Yeah.
And kind of boring. Wait a minute, is this centered too?
Should be.
All right, let's just assume it's all centered. Kind of boring, except when she introduces this. Oops. When she introduces this and this, it breaks up the symmetry of the layout, and I quite like that. I think there's some slight spacing issues, like I think this could go a little bit north. You kind of see that? We're grouping pieces of information, so you have this space and you have this space, and I feel like it needs to be a little bit more balanced. These are very minor things. If you were in a class with typography for me, I'd definitely give you an A or an A- here. We're splitting hairs here, okay? But since the layout is already really super tight, that's the only thing I have to say. I'm sure people are getting angry at me anyways, because that's what they like to do. Stop picking on Emily.
People need to stop being so angry.
This is about the episode about Stylescapes. Stylescapes. No? I thought that was a continuation of this S.
Maybe.
I hope so. Yeah. Okay, so we got some problems here on this layout. Yeah. I really, like, if you strip everything away, if you can imagine that there were no type on this, white, black, and white, that looks like a beautiful poster, a modern art piece, right? Because the proportions are really good. I'm boring Scott Rothstein, just yawning right through my video. Scott, thanks, dude. Thanks for that sound effect. The typography video is killing you. I get it. All right, anyways, here's where I think this one is a little bit funky. Stylescapes. This should be red, right? So let's go pick a red color. So this should have been red, and I like that. So it's just having a little fun with our typography. That way it continues on here. We think of the page as a three-dimensional layout, not just a 2D thing. So when the type bleeds off this edge, we can say that it can continue on this edge. That's cool. I like that. It's just missing an S here. That's all. I think it's Stylescapes, right? Yeah. I didn't imagine that. So there you go. Okay? And the rest of this is just decorative. I like having this element here. Let me switch back to my yellow color. Okay? I like having this element here because it's a nice block thing that breaks up this whole thing. It's also a repetition of this dash hash mark hyphen. That's what it's called, a hyphen. So I like seeing kind of repetition and playing repetitions on a theme and some variation. Who knows what this links up to, but good layout. Let's go to the next one. Now, Emily, how long did you work on these? Because everybody wants to know, like, how long do you give people time to work on these things? Move your hand away.
This was like 3 months ago. I have to like track back to my memory.
Roughly. How much time did I give you to work on these things?
2 weeks in between projects.
So time working on it?
Yeah.
What do you think, really?
A week?
A week. 5 days?
5 days.
How many layouts did you do?
12.
12 layouts.
But I think I have,
you did a
like,
couple of versions.
Yeah.
This is the final version.
Right.
So we could have looked at some of the other versions, but we're just focusing on this version right now. All right. This makes me a little uncomfortable here, right? Give me a little bit more of that D and you're good. So you see like it's hard to figure out what this letter is and you got a little sliver there. That's the danger of cutting things off. You have to be very intentional when you cut things off. And this is the baranding. I'm not sure if you gain too much by having that little sliver. So I think one, you get rid of this and you just move the B over. That's one option, okay? The other option is you pull everything back and you see a little bit of what makes it the R, like that part, right? Just so that we can connect it to this. It doesn't have to be a one-to-one relationship. You can actually repeat a little bit more of the letter and you include a little bit more here, okay? I believe you could cut this part off and it still would read as branding, because I don't know of any other letter that would read with that mark, okay? It's almost like you gotta either give me more or give me less, because this little bit, this little sliver here bothers me, okay? Why are you laughing?
Because the internet's gonna be like, that's such a small, like, I don't know. What
Is that how the internet talks?
Yeah.
Okay.
Talk with a high voice.
What typeface is this?
I think that's the typeface that came.
With that asset?
Yeah.
Min just killing us with weird typefaces. What typeface is that? No, Min, don't worry.
I feel like it's Myriad Pro. It looks like
it looks like some kind of random default typeface.
Yeah.
It's hurting me right now. Okay, let's keep going. This is a very similar layout to something else that we saw, right?
Right.
Okay.
Because I want a repetition in the posters.
Okay.
Where it would kind of look the same, but not really. The other one was a white background. This one was a red background.
Okay. And this one says comfort zone, and then the title is getting out of your comfort zone. I like that there's a mixture of all caps and then all lowercase. So we're always looking for contrast, and that's a good use of contrast. And Emily tried to make this all fit into the box, and sometimes you wind up with type that just doesn't line up because it's not an even number. So this is a solution. You add a hyphen in it and it works. Okay? That's how you fill in the space. And sometimes you can come up with some interesting layouts. It's important though, it's important that you break it up for the syllable.
Yes.
So you know where this is going now.
Yes.
How do you read this? Comfort zone?
Yeah, it should have been over
Yeah,
there.
yeah. See, so you should put it there. So then the F would come back here and it would just be just as good. There's really nothing, like one's on the front, one's on the back, right? So if you had the comfort here, comfort zone, it would read much better. And so let's be mindful of that, okay? Hey guys, hope you liked this video. We have more type posters to go over with Emily, but we're gonna do that in another video. Make sure you like this video, subscribe to the channel, and come back next week for part 2.